and welcome to Arts Alive Theatre. This week we went to meet Matthew Linley, the new artistic director of the Unity Theatre, who told us everything about his vision on this historical venue. But first, Pam Teller went down to meet the team behind the Mall of Edgehill, a very local play set up in the Williamson Tunnels.
Liverpool, in the year 1780, a modern city, gateway to the Americas. A seaport that is the envy of the world. Import station for cotton, coffee, sugar and spices. And my name is Richard Tate, businessman and family man.
Hi, my name is Pam Taylor and I'm joined today by Ian Carroll, who is producing, had written and produced, I should get that right, the Mall of Edgehill. Can you give me a little bit of information on the play and where it came about?
Well, I used to live around the corner and my family's actually from Smithdown Lane, and this is a story with a lot of local legend attached, and it was a story that intrigued me. I came to visit the tunnels on my birthday as a little treat to myself a few years back, and enjoyed it. I wanted to know more about the history, and as I developed this interest, I realised that there was potentially a play to be told about the story of the man we call the Mall of Edgehill.
Okay, because he's so significant in this town, isn't he? He actually started off. Well, tell us a little bit about how he started. He was.
Well, he was a young man who came to Liverpool, worked his way up from nothing, worked for a man called Richard Tate down at the docks, who was a wealthy tobacco merchant, and eventually married the boss's daughter, inherited the family firm upon Mr. Tate's retirement, amassed a wealth of money, and come to build a house. And when he
the house, and that's where Edgehill gets the name, isn't it?
No, I think it was just originally just the hill at the edge of town, when
right.
Liverpool was a small enclave in the
right.
city centre down by the docks around the castle and that sort of thing. But he sort of inherited this workforce, and he felt a sense of responsibility to them. So he just carried on building, and eventually when he ran out of ground up top, he started building this elaborate tunnel network down below.
So this was something that he decided to keep the workforce going, is that right?
It's purely an act of philanthropy.
It was absolutely, it's a fantastic idea. And then what the workers went on then to
well,
do the railway?
I don't think he even realised himself at the time, but what he'd done was he'd gifted the men an apprenticeship in tunnel building, stone masonry, carpentry, and those men, once he was about to pop his clogs and could no longer provide for the men, it coincided with the development of Britain's railways. So he gifted to the nation a skilled workforce that went on to build, for the industrial age and the coming age of steam.
Mr. Tate, sir.
Yes?
I'd like to come and work for you in your organisation.
Would you now?
Yes, sir.
And what is your name?
Joseph Williamson, sir.
So you have some really good people involved in this production. Really, they've devoted their time to doing it.
Well, apart from the Williamson Tunnel Heritage Centre, who've gracefully allowed us to come in and do the show here, we've got a sort of a mutual purpose in that they want to celebrate Joseph Williamson, and I want to celebrate, a great Liverpoolian, Joseph Williamson. And what I've done is I've brought my experience as a playwright and a producer, and some of my established members of cast, and one or two newcomers, a fabulous cast, and here we are in a great venue.
Definitely. And you have got other productions that you've had before. You've actually got one going on the Unity Theatre?
Yeah, I've got Adolf in Toxteth coming on in July, from the 7th to the 11th of July. That premiered in the city in 2012. I'm also the man who did Frankenstein at the Bombed Out Church on Halloween, which starred some of the cast that we've got here. So that was great. And I also did One Bad Thing, The Murder of John Lennon, which has been done at the Unity 2003 and the Actors Studio 2010 and 2013, which got great reviews and a lot of great critical response. And also the Tommy Cooper show, that's another of mine.
Fantastic. You did that in the Unity Theatre as well, sorry, not the Lantern Theatre,
We
was
did
that
it at the
right?
Lantern, but it's also played at the Edinburgh Festival. It's just done Theatre Clwyd and a big theatre in Shrewsbury, and it's doing Blackpool and Carnarvon and a summer tour. So that's going
Very
on to
good.
great things, yeah.
Fantastic. And the dates of this performance?
Well, the Mall of Edgehill takes place from the 24th to the 28th of March. So if people have not had the chance to catch it, depending on how well we do, we will hopefully come back and do it another time, because it is a story that I think should become part of Liverpool folklore. And if people have got excited about this production, then they can catch us at the Unity Theatre doing Adolf in Toxteth in July from the 7th to the 11th, and hopefully return to the Bondo Church with another Halloween show later in the year.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with this production.
Okay.
Hope it goes well. I'm sure it will.
Well, I can hardly refuse someone showing such determination and entrepreneurialism.
Thank you, sir. Onto what, sir?
Entrepreneur. I, for example, take commodities from one place and move them to another, where they may sell for a higher price. You have taken yourself from a provincial town to a bustling city, where your skills may fetch a premium. I think, therefore, that you are an entrepreneur.
I want a new house. A bigger house.
Do you? Where would you like this house?
There. On Edgehill.
I'm now joined by the cast of the Mall of Edgehill, and I've just been watching some of their rehearsals. This is Jack Cooper, who actually plays...
Joseph Williamson.
Fantastic.
I am the mole.
You are the mole.
I am the mole.
are
You look
the
like a mole.
Thanks, Lenny.
And also Lenny Wood.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, and Lenny plays...
I played a labourer called Lenny, funny enough.
Oh, well, that's easy to
I think it was
remember.
written for me, otherwise it's just too big a coincidence, really.
Fantastic. And also Lizzie Hiscott.
Yeah.
Yes, but she's getting married, so we're going to change her name, which will be...
Emily.
Emily. Okay. What do you feel about this is quite a big piece that you're doing, if you think about it, because it's about heritage, isn't it? And I think Liverpool has such a lot of heritage. When you were approached about this piece, how did you feel?
I think that was the most fascinating thing for me about the project, is that it's here for a start. It's actually in the Williamson Tunnels, and it's something that I know we spoke about. We knew of it,
Yeah,
but
well-
I'd never been. I'd never looked into it too much, and so it's been something I've been fascinated by. So to have the opportunity to be here and feel it and see it and play it has been a joy, really. Hasn't it?
Well, tell your face that. I think that is the general consensus of people around here. They know of the Williamson Tunnels and the story of Joseph Williamson, but they don't know the really fine details. So I think that's what this story is trying to depict, really, and it does it very well. I think so, anyway.
Yeah.
Do you think yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always very interesting to be able to do a play about real people and to be able to find out a little bit more about their lives. And I hope that the play will sort of help some more people who don't know anything about Williamson.
Because frankly, I didn't know much about the play or anything, or about the Williamson Tunnels until I started hearing about it. This project sounded fantastic, and I thought it's such a fabulous building. It's just wonderful. What do you think about that?
It's lovely. It's
atmospheric.
Yes,
Yeah.
you couldn't beat it, and I know Ian, our writer, has said you couldn't do it anywhere else. You could, but it wouldn't work. It wouldn't have the impact that it does when it's actually here.
Yeah, it's got great acoustics. You can hear everything. Can hear the echoes so strong. I mean, you can't even blink without someone hearing you blink. It's that well defined. Yeah, it really is. I think.
Yeah, agreed. Very special. Jack and I actually worked together on Ian's Frankenstein in the bombed out church last year, and it was the same thing. We had an amazing venue, and it makes such a difference.
8 o'clock. Meet me in Edgehill. I have a job for you.
A job, sir?
Yes.
A job for me, sir?
Yes, I assume you want work.
Well, yes, I've been over in France fighting against Napoleon. All I want is an honest day's pay for an honest day's work.
Then you shall have it. Now I need to source some tools and... Are there many more like you?
Hundreds, sir.
Bring a few dozen. No shirkers.
We've lots to do.
We're now going to take a short break, but join us just after in Arts Alive Theatre to find out more about the Unity Theatre and its new artistic director, Matthew Linley. Welcome back to Arts Alive. We're now at the Unity Theatre where we're going to meet the new artistic director, Matthew Linley. Hello Matthew, and thank you for having us here. So you've just taken the job a couple of weeks ago. How's it been going?
It's been fantastic. It's an extraordinary venue to kind of come and run, and actually an amazing city to come and be in. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind, it has to be said, and things are flying at me left, right, and centre. But that's exactly what you'd expect from a venue like the Unity. So
before moving here, you were managing Eastern Angles, a touring theatre located in East Anglia. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, of course. So actually, my background's, I have a background in running venues a bit like Unity. So I've run venues in Reading and in Bath and in Leicester. And then one of the things I did, because I've been running venues, I was interested in a sense, the other side of theatre making, the producing side. And so I moved to Eastern Angles, who are a producing theatre company who produce 4 or 5 shows a year that tour across East Anglia and actually tour nationally as well. And that, in a sense, kind of for me balanced the kind of square, if you like. So on the one hand, being a venue like here, and also the kind of producing side. So I was with Eastern Angles for 4 years and did a whole host of things. We put a show called Ragnarok, the doom of the gods, the Norse gods, into the Hush House, which is on an American airbase, so it was going into a hangar. We did a show called Dark Earth at Flag Fen, which is a Bronze Age walkway. So we were recreating the Fen on the Fen, which is quite an interesting kind of concept in that kind of way. Took an extraordinary show by a writer called Joel Horwood to Edinburgh called I Heart Peterborough. Beautiful kind of almost love letter to the city, but the story of a father and a son, but a very, very unusual relationship, and worked on, actually, I counted up, the posters are in my office actually, worked in that over that 3.5 years, worked on something like 23, 24 shows. And I'm hoping actually that we'll continue that relationship whilst I'm here at Unity.
So you'd like to do things with the two companies?
There's a couple of projects that I was working on with whilst I was at Eastern Angles that I'm hopeful that we're going to continue a relationship with the two, kind of like an East-West relationship, if you like. And actually, one of the pieces is around issues around the kind of what happens if the capital city, for example, splits off. So there's issues that make sense to both a Liverpool audience and an East Anglian audience. So I'm hopeful that we'll keep that relationship going.
That's quite a big change from the south. What made you move to Liverpool?
It is quite a change. Well, I'm originally from Yorkshire. I don't know if I should say that in Liverpool, but I grew up in the north. I grew up just outside of Leeds. And in fact, my mum always says you go on about Yorkshire so much and you spent more than half your life not living in the north. So actually, it feels about the right time to be coming back to the north. And I think what drew me to the city, huge amounts drew me to the city. Actually, I think that phrase "wearing culture on its sleeve," which people talk about in terms of Liverpool. It's not just talk; it's real here. It's the moment that you come out of the station. You're faced with kind of culture everywhere, and that, for me, that was attractive. It was a city that was proud of its culture, a city that celebrated its culture, and a city that was kind of interested in what culture can do, both for it as a city and for the communities around it. So that, for me, was really, really attractive. And of course, the venue itself. I think one of the things that really sets Unity apart in terms of the scale and scope of a venue like Unity is the fact that it manages to continue to produce work as well as, we were talking about it earlier, we've got a dance company in this evening. So there's something very exciting about the fact that the Unity manages to balance both producing work, a venue of this size, both producing work and receiving work from other companies. So that for me was exciting. And I'm always fascinated by place, by the story of place, and by the kind of, so the last 3 weeks have been, for me, have been a kind of like an extraordinary journey, just understanding, beginning to understand, and it's only beginning, I have to say. I've kind of scratched the surface of the narrative of the city, and that's, and for me, venues like the Unity are right at the heart of their communities, and they need to be responding to in dialogue and talking with the community. So getting to know the city and the place is something that I'm really looking forward to doing, and getting to know better as well.
Now, you were talking about the experimental and radical tradition of the theatre. Is that something you'd like to pursue?
Graham, our artistic director emeritus, talks about the Unity very fondly as being the boil on the bum, and I think there is something, one of the beauties of spaces like the Unity, the smaller theatre spaces, is they have the potential to be asking those difficult questions, to be presenting work that is slightly out of the ordinary, a little bit different. And so yeah, I do think that the Unity will continue to have that kind of different edge, challenging edge, experimental edge, that sense of, that's a little bit unusual. And I think that, for me, that's exciting. One of the things, and it's really important as well as part of the kind of wider creative ecology, because actually what's interesting is you look to see a lot of the ideas that emerge in the kind of independent, smaller sector. Often then you start seeing emerging in games, in pop videos, in kind of in the kind of concert form. So it's actually, it's a really important part of the theatrical ecology, for want of a better word.
Now, I've had a look at your blog, and I've seen that you're very interested into digital technologies and things like that. Is that something that you hope to bring to the theatre?
I mean, one of the things that I'm interested in asking here, and I love asking questions that I don't know the answer to, and I think one of the things that I'm really interested in working with the team here and working wider within the Unity programme is that question of what does it mean to be a 21st century arts venue. The world around us is changing rapidly. What you and I are doing in our social time is kind of changing rapidly, and so that means that actually venues, and particularly venues like the Unity, need to be thinking about that in the context of that. And I think, and part of the answer to that, I absolutely do think, is around the way that we use digital technologies and embedding that into the overall experience. In fact, there's a couple of projects that one of the things that we're doing in June is inviting a number of companies in to do some R&D work with us, and two of those projects are around different ways of using digital technologies. One of them is with a company called Metro Dodo, and they're developing a project called Always a Stage, which is about creating kind of digital plays that you can turn up to the venue at 12 o'clock or at 12 o'clock in the afternoon or at 3 o'clock or just before a performance, and actually experience a performance through headphones through the building. And what they're interested in is creating a kind of a structure that you can continually use and create new work for. So that's one of the projects. And another project is with a company called Windswept, who alongside a stage play are developing a digital play, and they're developing in parallel, if you like. And the interesting thing about that is it's perfectly possible for an audience just to engage with a digital play, just to engage with that online story, and it's perfectly possible for an audience to just come and see the show and not engage digitally, but actually in a sense, the ideal scenario is the audience members that actually do both and are actually going into the auditorium with a little bit more information because they've been engaging with the digital play. And they're two distinct and different works, but actually the dialogue between them, the two of them, is fascinating. And I think, digital is something that gives us the tools to be creative and to play and to reach a much wider audience, getting beyond the walls of the building. We were talking earlier about my work with Eastern Angles, and a lot of the site-specific work that we were doing was also about going beyond the walls of the theatre space.
Okay, and finally, what is it that you're looking for in the summer season?
Well, obviously, I mean, I was in rehearsal for Crap's Last Tape yesterday, and I think that's going to be an absolutely beautiful piece such a strong piece of writing, and even where are we? We're just in sort of day 8, 9 of rehearsal, and I was kind of feeling my heart go as I was watching Nick perform the piece. So I think Krapp's Last Tape, which opens next week, is going to be, I'm really looking forward to. Following hard on the heels of that, I'm looking forward to seeing the second iteration of the Liverpool Acoustic Festival, which takes over the whole building and makes full use of the fact that we've got 2 spaces. So it's using the public spaces as well as Unity 1 and Unity 2. And I can't pronounce her name, but it's headlined by Marketa Iglov, who that was probably awful, but there we go. But I think everyone will know her from the film Once, and the work that she did, and the work she did with Glenn Hansard. She's an extraordinary singer, actually, really, really beautiful. So she's headlining, and there's a really broad range of acoustic music happening over those 2 days. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think the other thing that I'm looking forward to is around election day, and this is absolutely right for a theatre like the Unity. You know, it's a moment in time once every 5 years, and across that week we've got a programme of work called You Decide, which is bringing together a lot of different kind of quite hard-hitting, issue-based political theatre pieces that are really asking some of the kind of questions about the process and about engaging people in the programme, and that runs across election week. And in fact, on the Friday after election day, which must be the 7th of May, I think, we've got a company called Coney. We were talking about digital earlier on. They're a company that use digital and live performance together. They're doing a performance piece which is essentially deciding how you decide the results of an election. So at the point that our various political parties are probably arguing about what the coalition might look at, audiences will be able to be doing the very same thing in this performance by Coney, and that's just one of about 12 things that are happening across the week. So I'm really excited about that, and I think that You Decide is kind of a really good indication of the kind of work and energies behind Unity.
Well, thank you very much, Matthew.
Thank you.
That's all for today in Art Alive Theatre. See you next time.